While the world was laughing at President Trump's very public desire to buy Greenland, a far more significant story was unfolding in the shadows. The idea was dismissed as absurd, a real estate fantasy that turned the most powerful office in the world into a global punchline. But as Trump vented his anger on Twitter, a quiet and calculated operation was already in motion, one that would ultimately outmaneuver the United States in a critical region. This operation wasn't led by soldiers or spies, but by 50 Canadian business leaders and diplomats. Their weapons were laptops, not rifles. Their strategy was built on contracts, not conquests. While Washington was consumed by noisy theatrics, Ottawa was quietly securing its grip on the core resources of the future: rare earth metals essential for technology and defense, emerging Arctic shipping routes, and massive oil and gas reserves buried deep beneath the permafrost. The stakes were astronomically high. Greenland is not just a frozen island, it is a $50 trillion treasure chest. Beneath its ice lies a trove of strategic minerals with unfamiliar names: molybdenum, niobium, graphite, that power everything from the smartphone in your pocket to the guidance systems of America's most advanced hypersonic missiles. Losing access to these resources isn't just an economic blow, it is a critical national security vulnerability. What Trump failed to understand was that this wasn't a real estate deal. It was about partnership. While he issued threats and tariffs, Canada asked Greenland a simple question: what do you truly need? The answer was investment and respect, not coercion. Canadian companies like Greenland Resources Incorporated and Amarok Minerals swooped in, offering lucrative mining licenses that funneled revenue directly into Greenland's economy, bypassing Washington entirely and earning immense goodwill. The most humiliating part for the U.S. was how it was financed. Wall Street investors, Norwegian oil funds, and Danish sovereign wealth all provided capital to these Canadian-led ventures. American money was literally bankrolling the operation that would lock its own military out of the Arctic. By the time Trump returned to power and declared his intent to seize control, the paperwork was already signed. The ink was dry, and the door was slammed shut. The backlash was swift and severe. Greenland's leaders denounced the U.S. stance as neo-colonialism. Denmark, a NATO ally, warned that any coercive action would be considered an attack on the entire alliance. Trump had achieved what Russia and China had failed to do for decades. He divided NATO through sheer arrogance, not strategy. The fallout was immediate and tangible. U.S. defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon faced critical shortages of materials, forcing them to freeze programs and desperately call their Canadian counterparts for help. The Pentagon, which had drawn up plans for invasion, now faced a reality where it had to ask permission from Ottawa for access to the resources it once took for granted. In the end, Canada won without firing a single shot. They became the undisputed gatekeepers of the North, the vital link in every supply chain and shipping route. Greenland, empowered by its new wealth from Canadian partnerships, began its true journey toward independence. The lesson was clear: the rules of power have changed. Empires are no longer built through force alone, but through trust, investment, and quiet, strategic patience. The 21st century will be won by those who build partnerships, not by those who issue threats.